Fani Willis, your day of reckoning is here. You know what? It's not going to fly. I realize the judge wanted to have his cake and eat it too. I realize Scott McCaffee thought that he could get away with slapping her on the wrist saying, you know what, this was really, really bad behavior, but we're going to let it slide because the prosecution was not able to technically prove that you gained financially. But he also is now allowing, as I knew he would and predicted he would, Donald Trump to go back at her for round 2. Well, actually, I guess she had round 1. So he's going back and he's like, okay, Fani, you really shouldn't have this gig because you're not a responsible person. You did exactly what you promised everyone you wouldn't do. Remember when Fani Willis told us that she would never do what her predecessors were doing? I mean, in fact, she was running for DA because they were doing, well, exactly what she wound up doing with none other than Nathan Wade. Here she is, Miss Fani Willis, back in the day when she was running.
You say, Miss Willis, Judge Willis, what law did he violate? A few, but let's try this on for size. OCGA 45-11-5, extortion, subsection A. As used in this code section, the term extortion means an unlawful taking by a public law officer under color of his office from any person of any money or thing of value that is not due to him or more that is due to him. Any public officer shall be by himself, his deputy, or his agent, or other in person employed by him be guilty of extortion in receiving other and greater fees than by law are allowed him, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and repeat this part for me, and shall be dismissed from office. Not maybe, shall be dismissed from office.
Woo!
You say, Miss Willis, Judge Willis, what law did he violate?
Okay, so there she is, saying it right there herself. And what did we later learn? We learned, of course, that Nathan Wade was getting paid the big bucks to work for Fani. And it turns out that, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but you don't have thousands of text messages and 35 trips over to her apartment now, do you? If she were just interviewing you for the job. I don't think. Anyway, what they've got to prove, and what the judge, Scott McCaffee, is saying you failed to prove last time, you've got to prove that somehow there was a financial gain from Fani. And it's got to be more than apparently a cruise or a new set of earrings, because she would argue, well, he was my boyfriend, he just gave me that. What they've got to somehow look at, and this is what you need a forensic accountant for, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to go back and look at the bank records. We need Comer. Where's Comer when we need him? We're going to get to Comer because he's pretty busy with Hunter Biden and Boba Blinsky. But you need someone to go back through all of the bank records and try and figure out just exactly whether he was getting the checks in from Fulton County, cashing them, and then where the money went. Now, maybe his ex-wife could do this, right? Because he's in the middle of a divorce. And if she's smart, she's going to get herself a really good accountant that's going to go back and is going to look and figure out just exactly how much he was spending on his mistress versus how much he was spending on the family. The other component to this, of course, is whether or not he was being paid above what somebody would normally get paid for that job. In other words, did Fani give her boyfriend a bonus? I think he was making somewhere upwards of $2,000 an hour as a lawyer there for Fulton County. Pretty amazing, because like he traveled to DC, apparently went to some shindig with allegedly the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, and some other officials from Georgia. So he's there, quote, for meetings at the White House. He's charging for it all while there. And so what they've got to figure out is, one, was he being paid above normal, above what a normal person working for the DA there in Fulton County, Georgia would actually make? It seems like a pretty inflated rate. I mean, I would have thought maybe $700-800 would have been plenty for him, especially for him. I mean, if you saw any of his testimony, he wasn't, shall we say, the most sophisticated of sophisticated lawyers. Anyway, Nathan Wade, one, were you making too much? And two, with all the money that you were making, where did it go? In other words, was there some skimming off the top for Fani Willis? That's what they get to prove. And this is what they're going to have the opportunity to do. Let me show you right here in this in this filing today, this certificate of immediate review. Upon review of the defendant's joint motion for certificate of immediate review, the court finds that the order of the defendant's motions, blah, 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 to dismiss and disqualify the Fulton County District Attorney is of such importance to the case that immediate review should be had. Woohoo! Okay? And you know what? It is important. Immediate review should have. Somebody's got to go in and take a good hard look at this woman and her bank account and Nathan Wade's bank account and figure out whether there were any shenanigans going on. I mean, other than the ones that we've unfortunately had to hear about. Correct? Correct. I just can't imagine. I mean, this is honestly crazy. It's just such an unbelievable circus. And if I were a Democrat right now, I'd be sitting there going, really, is this the best we could do? We got Joe Biden, who's apparently so angry these days. NBC did a story on it, that he's swearing at his staff because he's like, wait a second, look at my polls in Georgia of all places, and Michigan. He doesn't understand why people don't think Bidenomics is working so swimmingly. Well, talk to the Fed about that. We're going to get to that in a second. But they got Joe Biden for their candidate who's dealing with the Hunter Biden nonsense. That's a big deal. We'll get to that momentarily. And you've got the likes of Fani Willis trying your case down in Fulton. I mean, she's the one to get the mugshot and everything. Her. Is no one looking at this and saying, well, gee, we've been dealt a really unfortunate hand because clearly these are not the best and the brightest in our society? I mean, for goodness sakes, the woman was going after the former president of the United States and she didn't have enough intelligence to kind of keep her act together for the period of time that she was going to be conducting this prosecution. I mean, she's getting a mugshot of him all while carrying on behind the scenes. Woo! I'm telling you, the judgment is lacking, severely lacking.